Hi, my name is Lori Harrington, and I'm going to introduce you to physical anthropology. This is a great topic. My hope is that not only will you learn something interesting and useful, but that you'll really enjoy the process. Since our first chapter is on what anthropology is and what anthropologists do, I thought you'd be interested in just what it is that I do for a living. My background is in physical anthropology and archaeology, with a specialization in osteology, which is the study of human bones and what they can tell us about a culture. I use this knowledge to do cultural resource management, which is an applied field in archaeology. Cultural resource management deals with recording and protecting cultural resources that may be impacted due to current cultural behavior. Okay, but what does that really mean? And just what do you do with it? Let's say a contractor is planning a new housing development in your area. This would be an example of current cultural activity. Because the people of California care about their environment and their cultural heritage, they enacted a law called CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. CEQA helps prevent destruction of natural and cultural resources, so that before the developer can get his permits to build the housing development, an archaeologist needs to check to see if cultural resources will be impacted, which means he needs to contact someone like me. The first thing I do is research to see if there are any known cultural resources in the area and where they might be located. This can take some time, but it's a very important step. Next, I go out and I walk over the surface of the ground to see if I can locate those known resources or see if I can find additional resources. What kind of resources am I looking for? Well, bridges, walls, buildings, foundations, dams, ditches, houses, and mines are just a few of the historic resources which I look for. All of these are indicators of human activity, or material culture, which is what archaeologists deal with. I might find evidence of an historic trash dump, like I did in San Francisco. These items, found on the ground surface, alerted me that there might be more resources below. And there were. These are just a few of the items we recovered from that buried trash pit. From these items, we were able to determine that this area was once occupied by Chinese immigrants during the late 1800s. Some human activity is more obvious than others. This was a project where a farmer wanted to build a dairy. Take a look at the background in the picture on the left. There's nothing else around for miles. He just happened to pick the one area where there was an historic resource. I also look for prehistoric occupation sites. On the left is a picture of a large bedrock mortar used by Native Americans to grind acorns. On the right is a grinding slick. This rock would have been used to take those ground acorns and make them into a powder. So let's say that we found indicators of cultural resources on the land that the contractor wants to build houses on. What happens next? Well, by placing test pits or auger holes, we can determine the size and full location of the site and show how much of the site could be impacted by the housing project. This information allows the builder to decide if he can move some of the houses so as not to impact the area, or perhaps place a park there instead. These are called mitigation measures, and usually a solution can be found to help preserve both the resource and to complete the project. But sometimes we know the area will be impacted, like when the Oroville Dam was built and thousands of acres of land were flooded. In that case, archaeologists went in and recorded and recovered as much information as they could before it was lost. By recording and recovering information from sites that will be impacted or destroyed, we can help to preserve parts of our history. Often burials and associated grave goods can be recovered and then repatriated. Being an osteologist, I have recorded and recovered many burials. I use my training to determine cultural affiliation, age at time of death, height, how healthy they were as a group based on their diet, and in some cases I can tell how they died and what diseases they suffered from. Once all this work and research is finished, it goes into a large report. You know what they say, the job's never done until the paperwork is. And that's certainly the case with archaeology. So that's pretty much what I do as an anthropologist. And sometimes, if I'm lucky, I get to teach an introduction to physical anthropology class and spend the semester with you. Well, that's all for now. I'll see you in the next class.